everyone, and welcome to New Trials Podcast. I'm Preya.
And I'm Melanie.
The New Trials of card captor Sakura, Syaoran, and Friends is a popular ongoing fanfic by Wishluv, and it's based off of Clamp's card captor Sakura. And in each episode, we'll do a deep dive of a new chapter. Let's get into it. So, in this chapter, we get Takashi and Chiharu's big fight. Melanie, do you remember your first or one of your early fights with Pete?
Oh, I sure do. Let me preface this by saying we literally never fight ever. And we're both just like the most easygoing people. But there was one time where we had our first really big blow up fight. And it really did kind of change the dynamic in our relationship. Because up until that point, we had both been kind of like, like we'd get mad, but we wouldn't like get really mad at each other, But this time, so this is going to make me seem really terrible, but it's a true story. So it was Pete's birthday and we went out to a bar and it was his 21st birthday and he got drunk. I did not. And this is when we lived basically like kind of right around a corner from this bar. And anyways, we got in an argument because he wanted me to get up and dance with him. And like I've said before, I am super introverted. I'm pretty shy. Like, even though I've done runway and musical theater and stuff, it takes a lot for me to get up in front of a crowd and a lot of people and do stuff. And if there was other people dancing in the bar, I would have maybe been a little bit more confident. But the fact that we would have been the only people dancing in this bar, so I didn't want to dance. And he kept like prodding at me, and I kept saying no and no and no. And finally I just kind of blew up at him and I was like, I said no, like respect the fact that I said no. And then he basically called me like lame or something like that. So I just straight up left him at the bar. Like I drove home and just left him. And I made him walk home that night in the rain while drunk. Because I refused to go get his butt. Like I was so mad at him. And what's kind of funny is that next day I actually had a modeling thing where I was at like an event all day long. So I didn't see him until I got home like really late the like next night. And I was really kind of scared because by then I'd obviously like calmed down a little bit. But anyways, they say 2020, in hindsight. In hindsight, it's his 21st birthday. I should have been more accommodating. Like now looking back, I feel like it was kind of all my fault and I should have respected him a little bit more. But at the same time, he also recognized the fact he should have respected when I said no. So, but like I kind of said, it really kind of was a big turning point in our relationship because we really learned how to actually communicate with each other. And after that, like we literally, like we've been married now for 10 years together this is going to be our 16th year, I think. And yeah, like we're golden. Our communication's amazing. Anyways, that was long-winded. How about you, Priya?
Well, some people say that your relationship doesn't really start until your first big fights.
You're right.
See, on my end, it's pretty much the same thing. Like Cameron and I, we don't really fight a lot. It's like we're very good at talking, communicating. We've been through like long-term relationships before, so we know what to do, what not to do. I think our first fight actually came almost a year into us dating. So it didn't get to the year exactly, maybe 11 months in. We were in Alberta, in Calgary, and we had to take an Uber. And I wanted to walk to the place and then call the Uber. And he's like, no, we're going to put a pin in that place we're going to. And by the time we get there, the Uber is going to get there. I'm like, we're not from this place. We don't know how long it's going to get there. This is not Montreal. It's like, no, we should really do it my way because otherwise the Uber driver is going to be there. We're not. And then they're going to cancel. And then we're going to get like the cancellation like penalty. He's like, no. And I'm like, it's not going to work. So of course we did things his way. Of course we didn't get there in time. Of course the Uber just canceled on us. And I'm like, see, that's why it's worth going there and then ordering the Uber, and then we would be on our way.
Did you say I told you so?
And, yeah, I think that was like our first disagreement. And yeah, no, because I just knew I was gonna be right. And I just knew we were going to be penalized, and I knew we weren't going to get there in time. I knew we didn't know Calgary the way, like, sure, he's been there before, but he's not from there. So I think that was like our first quote unquote fight.
Oh, it's always such a good feeling when you can say, I told you so. Or now Pete and I are at the point where I don't even have to say it. He just knows, and he just gives me this look, and I'm like, yep, I don't even have to say it anymore because you know.
Okay. So we have a fun Alliance of the Stars today. We're going to be highlighting Messel. She listens to the podcast while she's at work, and usually she just waits until she has some quiet time before she can binge. So I'm going to be reading all of the wonderful, wonderful comments that she left on Facebook. So chapter 22.5, Sakura's birthday special. She says, finally getting back to my podcast binge. It's very cute that the two of you always get excited for your birthdays, even as an adult. My older sister is like that too, lol, though personally, I'm more neutral about it. Like, I don't do parties, but I still try to take time for myself on my birthday. I think it's okay to celebrate the entire month, even if your birthday is at the beginning of it, Melanie. Treat it as an extended after party.
Oh my God, extended after party. I am going to use that now. That is amazing.
Yes. Okay, chapter 23, Kaitu Magician and Diamond Necklace. Messel wrote, Kai! I have those last few lines highlighted on my Kindle because they're so poignant, especially when you know his backstory. I found your comments on his first impression of Malin so funny because it made me realize that he must have a thing for beautiful women who can kick his ass.
Hell yes.
Very well said. Very well said. And Kai and Malin, they continue to be the dynamic couple that we know and love.
For sure.
Next one is chapter 24, The Mirror of Truth. And she says, because I always have Kai on my brain, I think he was thrown off by what he saw in the mirror because he has tried to convince himself that he doesn't need a family. The Mirror of Truth shows your true self or what's in your heart. So to see something he thought he threw away must have been quite a surprise. Deep down, he still wanted that no matter how much he claimed he didn't. Also, Melanie thinking Landon was brunette made me laugh, since his brother Lawrence is actually a brunette. And I had thought he was blonde like Landon when I made my read line fan art. I had to go back and change it. It's so funny because it's like, I will 100% always forget that Landon is a blonde.
Like I said, I, for some reason, always picture him as a brunette. I don't know why, but it's just what my brain does. I just make up my own idea of what I think characters look like.
I guess because, like, in New Trials, our cast is predominantly Japanese. And yeah, Sakura's hair is auburn, but she's the protagonist. And Tomoe hair is purple, but we'll put that on the darker colored side. But you have Ariel, you have Syaoran, they're all brunettes. And Kai, his hair is auburn, but it's only blonde because he chooses to be that way. But what I like about the Great Five is that they all have different hair colors. Like Hayashi is auburn like Sakura. Shulin, her hair is black like Sharan's. You have Malin, who's not Malin, but Mayura, who's like a redhead, like Mizuki, the Mizukis. Then you have Landon, who's blonde, and then you have the twins who are like, purple hair, like Aaron and Erica. I like the way that Wish Chan differentiates the five of them with their hair colors. Okay, next up is chapter 26, Living Together. So Messel writes, so much mischief going on in this arc. The talk about getting hit by a soccer ball made me think of my own memory, lol. I used to play soccer as a kid, and I got smacked in the face during a winter season game. It was a snowy and cold, and that made it hurt so much more. Though I was the goalie in that game and saved it from going in, so at least there's that. Yay, muscles for the team.
Girl, I feel you. I feel for you.
And finally, we're gonna wrap up with chapter 26.5, Erica and Aaron and Erica's promise. And she writes, I listened to so many episodes today. Ha ha ha. It's been so hectic at work, but I finally have a moment to sit down and do plain desk work. The origin of the Dark Ones is so fascinating because while we know so much now than we did in Arc 2, but there's also so much we don't know. Like, we don't even know if it's Ryuichi and Riza, or is it Ryuichi or Riza? But they're also known as the Dark Ones, plural, so it has to be both, right? The topic has so much discussion over the years. I'm not surprised that there's paragraphs upon paragraphs on the yahoo/group.io. And yet, I'm still learning about new theories like what Diana brought up about Risa's soul. Anyway, I love this little fandom we've made for ourselves and how thoughtful everyone is. The discussion about how we read a new chapter reminded me that I've been writing notes as I read chapters on my phone since getting a smartphone. I've been using the same app and the notes to go back to 2014. So long ago. My last one was in 2018, though, sad face. Oh, it breaks our hearts.
Oh my God, I would love for you to release your notes that you've just had. I would absolutely love that because I also take notes kind of while I read the chapter and stuff. That way, when it used to be when Priya and I would just talk on Zoom just to like when the chapter's updated. That way, her and I had stuff to talk about, or it'd be my little review for the Facebook group. But I've never thought about using the note app and having it continuing. I might copy you.
Okay, so now so today we'll be discussing Chapter 34, Beyond the Widest Ocean. The release date is June 30th, 2001, which was the same day as Chapter 33, as we learned in the last author's notes. The word count is 8,524 words, and we are in August, and it's during 9th grade. Time for the summary. Chiharu got mad at Takashi for his lack of interest in the contest and for his lies, so she stormed away. Hours later, she was still gone, so Sakura and Aaron decided to go look for her. When Syaoran tried to interfere, Sakura told him that she knew that Aaron and Erica were their enemies, but she decided to get to know them as people and to know about more about their backgrounds instead of treating them as the enemies. To support her argument, she told Syaoran that she gave him a chance, and he is now one of her closest friends. Aaron overheard this, and he was in shock. Chiharu was lost in the forest. As she was thinking of her complicated relationship with Takashi, a beast leaped out after her. The Kaiju magician saved her. He took her back to the estate on his motorcycle. He left with Chiharu's heart, making Takashi angry and jealous before reverting back to his usual expression. Wolfie-chan came up to Syaoran after disappearing for the evening. It was only when no one was looking that Syaoran played with the dog, which Sakura found sweet. The next day, Arima and Asuma were at the cottage since they were working as models for Mike Kant's, the New York photographer's, photo shoot, and because Arima was a judge at the contest. Miho began her hunt for her brother by examining people and stamping their foreheads with an X or question mark when she was finished until she found her brother, but she didn't. Later that night, Takashi confided in Sakura that he was scared about losing Chiharu. To cheer him up, Sakura said that when he feels sad, He would just have to remember that beyond the ocean, the sun rises to start a new day to right all wrongs. Sakura asked Takashi why he told stories, even though it upset Chiharu, and he said that when he was young, no one believed him, so it was easier to come up with lies. On the day of the contest, in her role as a judge, Arima told the contestants that the contest was to test their faith and hearts as they learned about friendship, determination, and what it meant to love someone. The couples were announced and they introduced themselves. Erika and Aki said their confidence and good looks would make them win. Takashi said he and Chiharu were friends long before they were a couple, and even when they fight, their bond is stronger as they believe in one another. Chiharu looked at him with new eyes and accepted this as Takashi's apology. When it was Sakura and Syaoran's turn, she was nervous, but Syaoran simply threw a golden orb up and fed her the "You know what I like about sunrises, Sakura" line. Sakura immediately responded by saying that it is a chance to try harder to succeed. When Syaoran said, "We can seize the day," the orb exploded, blossoms rained down, leaving everyone impressed. Okay, so we pick up with Miho's passionate determination to find her brother and make sure that, she just wants to make sure that he's okay. And then we quickly pivot to how mad she will be when she does find him. So that was unexpected to read, but it makes total sense as the Miho we know now.
For sure, for sure. So are you just so excited that we're entering into the Chiharu Takashi part of the arc?
Oh yeah, because like I'm going to talk about it more when we get to the special, but it was my hunt for anything and everything Takashi and Chiharu that led me to the new trial special, and that opened the door to new trials. And that was back in 2003. And now we're 2023. So this is my 20th anniversary with the fic. And I give all credit to Wish-chan putting a highlight on Takashi and Chiharu.
Yay.
Like, I know there are cracks in the Takashi Chiharu relationship in this chapter, and I used to watch Degrassi, so I know very well that cutesy back burner couples don't get any airtime unless there's a conflict. And that's what Wish-chan is doing with TNC. So the conflict here is that Takashi isn't making any effort in the contest, which is clearly important to Chiharu, regardless whether they win or lose. And this caused her to storm off and go missing.
Well, and I think not only it's the contest, but she just feels like he doesn't take her seriously, I think is what it boils down to, and what she's actually mad about. How us girls say we're mad at one thing, but actually it's like what we're really mad about.
No, it's like it's slowly been bubbling up in like the previous chapters, and Chihiru's patience is just getting a little shorter and a little shorter and a little shorter, and then this is like supposed to be celebrating themselves as a couple, and it's as if Takashi couldn't care less. So we understand why she snaps.
Yes, and it's kind of a nod to the original work too, because we see Chiharu getting upset that he what was it for like White Day, he got her like a Satsuma, or he named his teddy bear Satsuma instead of Chiharu, and so there's stuff like that. So I think Wish-chan is kind of developing that a little bit more too with these two characters, and so I appreciate that, like she's turning their kind of like childhood squabbles into now a more teenage relationship type squabbles, and how they're going to kind of progress and turn into a couple. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And like she takes every little drop of TNC that we learned in the canon, and she's kind of infused it into her master novel, as we're going to see in the special. So I'm excited about that. So Sakura and Aaron were going to leave to look for Chiharu, and Syaoran was livid. And we get a callback to chapter 4 when Sakura almost fell off a cliff after going on with Aaron. So Syaoran thought he was going to blow Sakura's world by telling her that the Chang twins were the dark ones. But Sakura said, it's like, oh, I've known for a long time. Now, do you have any theories about how long?
So I have a vague memory that you and I have discussed on the podcast that I think there was a certain scene that happened where we're like, oh, that's probably when the veil escaped. And I
Mm.
remember we talked about that, and I tried looking for when we talked about that, like last Wednesday when I was re-listening to things, and I couldn't find it. But I think there was a specific time where you and I talked about that something happened in the chapter, and we're like, that must have been when the veil broke. But honestly, I think what really kind of hit the nail on the head for Sakura was during New York. It has to be that, like, because I feel like a lot of things happened in that time, even like the Winter Wonderland stuff leading up to that. So I think it was around there, would be my first impression.
See, like my theory was that I think it was when the 5-4 scroll suddenly disappeared. But like I don't have anything to back it up. Because
Mm.
they had the 5-4 scroll and all of a sudden it went missing, and it wasn't until Kai got it back to them that it was in their possession again. But it's like who else would take away the 5-4 scroll that isn't in their vicinity? But I have a feeling that we did talk about this before, but I have no recollection of what we said.
Dear Alliance, who are binging our episodes, if you know which one we're talking about, please comment down below and let us know.
Ah, Sakura telling Syaoran that she wanted to treat the twins as humans rather than enemies is so Sakura.
And I love that because in Clamp's work, Clamp is very much, there's no such thing as like a villain. Like if there is a villain, they're all kind of like a gray villain. And and so I appreciate that Wish Chan is kind of keeping that theme here, that, they're villains, but there's a reason why. She keeps Sakura in like her original character of, she just has such a big heart. And I love that. And and I also just love the fact that Sakura, like, it just shows how smart Sakura actually is, and I love this scene so much. It just has so many layers to it that just makes it amazing. Because on the surface level, you might read it and just think, oh, okay, Sakura's known. That's cool. But like, if you really think about it, it's just amazing how Wish Chan has just really developed her character. She really understands her. She understands her quote unquote villains. And anyways, I could gush about this particular scene for an hour. I won't, but I love it.
And it's like at the end of the day, we get foreshadowing because it's the same way that it worked in Syaoran. In Arc 4, it's going to work on Aaron.
I didn't even think that, but yeah, you're totally right.
Do we know why Aaron was on edge? Do you think it was his guilt from stealing the embroidery and turning it into the wolf?
When they were walking on the beach.
I think so. Like, because there was like a scene where he was like on edge.
I think it's because he overheard Sakura and Syaoran's conversation. And
Yeah.
so it's like he knew that Sakura knew. And so I think he just didn't know how to act around her. And so I think he was just in his head a little bit too much of like, do I continue acting like I know she doesn't know? Or do I act like she does know? Like, what is she thinking about me? And then I think she also kind of did a little psychological warfare on him a little bit too, because then he's
Nice.
like, she wants to be friends with me. Why does she want to be friends with me? Like, what's so great about me that she would want to know things about me? So I think it was just him just having a spiral.
I love that. I love that. Let's give Aaron a little bit of anxiety for once.
For sure. For sure.
So we get in Shiharu's head, and she rethinks her relationship with Takashi. And we get notes of Wish-chan's TNT special, and that's when she was attacked, but the Kaitu magician saved her. So your sound effects in this chapter were so great. I say that every time, but I mean it every time. From the crashing steps to like the crashing, I think of the waves, and then to Kai's like footsteps. It's like really immersive.
Thank you. I was really determined to find those footsteps. And then finally I found the right one. And then I had to add in his like breathing into it to make it sound realistic. But I was pretty proud of that one.
It was really cool. And the conversation between Kai and Chieru was fun, especially when he slipped that he knew Sakura.
So good.
But like, even though I would have never followed a stranger on a bike, the fact that he knew her friends was like, gave him some credibility and a vote of confidence in his favor. And she didn't really have much of a choice in that matter because otherwise she'd be stranded in the woods.
I don't know. Like, I would like to think I wouldn't, but then I'd be like, hot guy, motorcycle, he saved me. I've been knocked out. He could have done whatever he wanted to me at this point. He hadn't. I would have 100% got on that motorcycle too. And I would have been like hanging on to him, like, please let me.
I think it really helped the fact that he slipped so that he knew Sakura and her friends. So so it's like it's a mutual. Because he even knew her name without her telling him. So it's like clearly he did his recon. But he shouldn't have been so surprised when she figured out that he was the Kaiju magician.
It's like, what do you mean?
How did you know? What gave it away?
That's not me. Like, what?
It's like, I could know everything about everybody, but like, dare someone know a little bit about me? I don't have my cape.
Like Clark Kent without his glasses. I'm not Superman. I just don't have my glasses.
Exactly. I think it's the sunglasses at night that blew his spot.
Oh, for sure.
So everyone was glad that Chieru was back, but Takashi could have skipped all the Kaiju magician gushing.
We got a really nice jealous Takashi scene. I love it.
It really gives him some dimension for sure. So the girls were talking to Miho about the Kaiju magician, and we get a cute Syaoran and Wolfie-chan scene. We also get Syaoran telling Sakura about how he had a puppy that died. Now, release date speaking, this is the first time that Sakura learns this. But since New Trials, the audiobook, and the podcast are doing things chronologically, we already covered Small Wolf's most special birthday because we kind of determined that must have happened before they went to Tokyo. So, as Wish-chan was writing this is the first time that she's in real time informing people. But we'll just skip over that little bump. So the next day, Sakura talks to Toya, who is really playing Big Brother in more ways than one when he was snooping around on her spending habits. She then calls him out about their paternal grandfather and how she was kept in the dark. So
good for her.
Got some ammunition.
Good for her.
So a big crowd is there to watch the contest. We get a funny scene where Miho is stamping people with either X or question marks.
I think this is an Easter egg from Wish-chan. I'm not for sure, but because Wish-chan is around our age, right?
Yes.
Like pretty close. Okay. I'm pretty sure that she has borrowed this scene from a Mary-Kate and Ashley movie.
Yes. I want to hear this.
Okay. So little bit of Mary-Kate and Ashley history for all you young kids that, weren't 90s babies. So Mary-Kate and Ashley were huge back in the day. Not only did they have movies, but they also had like little TV series and little like episodic movie spinoffs. And one of the spinoffs they did was the Mary-Kate and Ashley detective series, where they were little detectives and we can solve any crime by dinner time. And so one of those that they did was Mary-Kate and Ashley in the Case of the SeaWorld Adventure. And then there was a continuation of that episode, the first one that ever continued, where they also went on to a cruise ship. And there's a specific scene in that where the girls are looking for a man called Mr. Kramer, and they're walking through the crowd looking for him. And they're like, "You're not Mr. Kramer." And they put an X on the hand. Or "You could be Mr. Kramer, question mark. And I really think Wish Chan maybe got this scene from that. Cause like, even I remember thinking it like the first time I read this chapter, like years ago, and it kind of makes sense to me because she's kind of the same age as us and like the age of Mary Kate and Ashley when they were huge. So I'm really curious to ask her this when we do our Q&A in a couple weeks.
That is so awesome. Like on my end, I just said, "Oh, it gave me Jigglypuff vibes," because then and that was the Pokemon that would scribble on people's faces when they fell asleep. See, like I was so charmed with the stamps that I actually recreated them in MS Paint. So I'll share that fan art with the group.
Nice.
Yeah. Is the SeaWorld one where they like sing with the dolphin, like flip, or yeah.
They're penguins. They're dancing penguins.
Yes, that's the only scene. And I remember who the bad guy is, but that's all I remember from that movie. Okay. We run into Arima and Asuma working as models, and we even have a Mike cameo, which I actually forgot. We get a sweet scene between Sakura and Takashi, and that's when Takashi gets really vulnerable and tells her he's scared of losing Chiharu. She gives him a sunrise metaphor, which is actually a bit of foreshadowing for the contest. And speaking of foreshadowing, we get more hints of the TNT special to come. So I'm really looking forward to talking about that one. Okay. It's the day of the contest, and you must have had fun playing announcer.
So if nobody can pick up on it, I very much decided to base him off of Michael Buffer, which is the "Let's get ready to rumble."
I love that. Erica and Aki are announced that they're pretty and pretty much look like models. And I feel like we already talked about the nepotism since Arima is a judge, but it is what it is. Takashi and Chiharu were announced, and Takashi made a heartfelt speech about their friendship, and that was really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It was time for SNS's speech, and Sakura was freaking out, but Syaoran prompted her with his sunrise speech, and then she fell right into step.
He also mentions he's been just holding on to Flowery this whole time.
Yes,
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that segs us into the Dark Force's corner. So the wolf attacks Chiharu, but we don't know that yet. And the flower card makes an appearance as Syaoran's showpiece for their introduction. I think that's really sweet. And even like in Arc 4, there's going to be more Syaoran and flower card coming together, working together.
And I mean, I think it just kind of also shows the trust that Flowery has towards Syaoran too, because if Flowery didn't want to stay with Syaoran, she wouldn't. I think I like to think in my head that the cards could just float back to whoever they wanted to. I don't think there has to be like a physical handoff. I don't think anyways. But yeah, I was just kind of surprised to see that. I was like, oh, he's just been hanging on to Flowery. Okay.
Well, we do have that scene of Kara riding Midnight Star.
True.
So, that must work. That must fall into step with your theory. Fan art spotlight. So this is one by me. It's titled Storming Off. I drew this in 2019 for New Trial's 20th anniversary 30-day art challenge. And the prompt was mad. So I had fun drawing the two of them, and Takashi's all shocked and she's storming away.
So cute.
Okay, ready for the author's notes?
Indeed. So we have Wish Chan. Hee, as usual, I'm moving at a slow pace, but as I mentioned before, I like developing things out fully. My notes are, I was referring to Chichiri from Fushigi Yugi, as in like the facial expression that Takashi wears a lot. I always wondered how to describe Takashi's expression. You know, always smiling, no eyes, not that serious looking, hee. Many anime have similar characters. For example, Mokona from Magic Knight Ray Earth, that purple-haired dude from Slayers, sorry, can't remember his name at the moment, and Chichiri. It's really a mask. Anyway, I'll try to put up a pic of Takashi with a normal expression. I drew him once, and I thought he looked pretty cute. Anyway, Chiharu falls for Kaito-kun, hee. Add some conflict towards Takashi and Chiharu's relationship. But it's important to realize where Chiharu's heart really lies. Oh yeah, look at their special story to read about how they grew as a couple. And we'll be doing that next time, I assume.
Yeah, I think that's the one that's next on our docket.
Okay. And then another surprising thing, wasn't the Syaoran encountering Sakura about the Dark One scene shocking? Sakura actually knew about the twins, yet her reaction was even stranger, nay? I think this is one of the scenes I've wanted to write about for a long time. Oh yeah, and Syaoran secretly did like Wolfie-chan the puppy after all. Hee. I do have a soft spot for big grouchy softies like Syaoran. Oh yeah, it's rather subtle, but Sakura finally dropped the kun when she calls Syaoran. That was chapters ago, but just thought that I would like to point it out. And Miho has her own set of troubles as well. It's hard to think of titles, you know, but I do hope people can somehow connect it with the chapters. One more thing. Did you notice that chapter 33 and 34's title connect to each other? Finding you beyond the widest ocean. Next chapter will be the contest and, as everyone can imagine, trouble.
Yeah, next week we're definitely going to be, well, not next week, but next time, we're definitely going to be diving into the Chiharu and Takashi special, which I put right between these chapters and the contest, since it's so, like, Chiharu and Takashi heavy.
And I feel like it gives more context, so that way when we go into the next chapter and the next scenes, it kind of makes more sense.
Everything together.
Yeah, agree.
So you have been listening to New Trials, the podcast, where it must rain for there to be a rainbow.
You've been listening to New Trials, the podcast. Please be sure to check out the audiobook version of this fan fiction that you can find anywhere that you can find this podcast. Also, please be sure to check out the Facebook fan page for New Trials, where a big part of the discussions happen nowadays and where you may be highlighted in our Alliance of the Star section. Also, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe. We are so thankful, and we just hit 50 subscribers. We love and appreciate you all. But of course, those of you that are lurking, I can see you. Please sure you give us a subscribe. And we will see you guys next week when we discuss the Chiharu and Takashi special chapter, Sincerity.